I authored a couple of the sections in the notebook. Those are sections 5.3 on the regional origins of the Energize Eastside, and also 5.4, the Eastside customer demand, which I will also touch on in my remarks today. CENSE was founded in 2014. For the past 5 years, CENSE members have investigated the need and purpose of Energize Eastside. Several of us, including co-founder Steve O'Donnell, served on PSE's Community Advisory Group for Energize Eastside in 2014. Other members have participated in PSE's annual electrical reliability workshops required by the City of Bellevue. CENSE members met with 2 chairmen of the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission to discuss the need and purpose of Energize Eastside, possible alternatives, and the regulatory process. The Commission regulates PSE and other investor-owned utilities in the state. 2 CENSE board members and I were selected by PSE to serve on a technical advisory group that represents stakeholders in the development of PSE's biannual integrated resource plan. In other words, CENSE knows quite a bit about our energy grid, infrastructure planning, and the rules and regulations that govern projects like Energize Eastside. CENSE agrees with the businesses and civic organizations who testified yesterday and today. Reliable electricity is vital to our safety, our health, and our city's economic vitality. However, PSE has not proven that Energize Eastside is a prudent way to improve reliability. No one wants to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a project that degrades neighborhoods and does not improve our reliability. So let's look at 2 different reliability scenarios in winter and summer. We'll start with winter. This is the last winter forecast that PSE published back in 2015. The steep incline of the yellow and aqua lines, I guess they're sort of yellow and aqua on the screen, indicate that PSE expects energy demand to grow twice as fast as the rate of predicted population growth. Here we have added an orange line that rises proportional to East Side population growth. The line from 2014 to 2017 shows the actual rate of growth that occurred, and the dashed line from 2017 onwards is based on projections by the Puget Sound Regional Council. Now, if demand grew in direct proportion to population, you can see that the line might extend out and eventually hit the system capacity range in the late 2020s. But actually, demand is not growing in lockstep with population because increasing rates of efficiency and conservation are dampening growth. For PSE's service area, we calculate that efficiency is slowing demand by about 0.8% per year. It might not sound like much, but it has a big effect during the next decade or 2. It appears PSE omitted efficiency factors in its forecast. If we include them, the orange dashes show demand flattening out even more.
And Mr. Marsh, are these slides in your PowerPoint, they're unique and different than the figures that I see, like in section 5.5 of the notebook?
Yes, they're a little bit more recent. We had to.
That's fine. But your PowerPoint, you plan to have that introduced?
Yes, we hope it will. So the question is a nearly flat forecast reasonable? Check out this graph from the Environmental Stewardship page of the City of Bellevue's website using data provided by PSE. The colored bars show that electricity use in Bellevue has been flat for the past 7 years. The city states, quote, "Conservation combined with increased population growth have tended to keep total community use fairly flat since 2011, end quote. To explain the slight bump in the light blue bar for 2014, the city further explains, quote, 2014 was one of the hottest summers on record with an average temperature of 77 degrees Fahrenheit. As most commercial buildings have air conditioning, the exceptionally long, hot summer likely contributed to the additional 1 million kilowatt hours of commercial electricity used in 2014. The majority, 67% of our community's electricity use is non-residential. I would like to highlight two important statements in that quote from the city. First, according to PSE's own data, electricity use is not growing. Second, more than 2/3 of the electricity used in Bellevue is for commerce. Bellevue's land use codes explicitly state that electrical infrastructure must be located where the need is. If there is a need, and that isn't clear, it is in downtown Bellevue and the Spring District. Lacking more precise data from PSE, our best evidence suggests that electricity use has been declining in residential neighborhoods. Why would the city of Bellevue require neighborhoods to bear the burden of larger infrastructure to serve the electrical needs of downtown development, especially when more localized alternatives can serve commercial customers? CENSE has asked PSE to produce data that would show exactly where demand is growing in Bellevue and other East Side cities. Unlike most utilities in the US, which are transparent about their energy use, PSE refuses to provide the public with demand data. Contrary to what the company claimed yesterday, they have not shown their work. Let's move on to PSE's summer reliability scenario. Yesterday, PSE displayed a graph that implies that power outages will occur in the summer, not winter. This is a pretty significant change from what the company was saying a few years ago. And in fact, I have to say, I was pretty surprised to see that graph displayed by PSE, because if you look at that graph, I've got it on my phone, I'd love to have it back on the screen here, but the largest exceedance of the capacity line on that graph happened in 2009, so 10 years ago, and there were only a couple of other minor points above that graph. So it's really too few data points to actually extrapolate what's going on, but we all know that peak demand is governed more by peak temperature or very low temperature in our case.
Extremes.
What's that? Yeah, extremes, right. That's what drives it. So you can't take a few data points and say, oh, it's going up or it's going down. You need a little bit more context. In all of PSE's presentations and in its integrated resource plan, PSE is clear that they remain a winter peaking utility with loads more than 25% higher in the winter than in the summer. The graph PSE showed yesterday is a completely different graph than we have seen before. This is the graph that PSE included in its 2013 documentation. The steeply climbing black line is PSE's forecast if there were 0% conservation, not a realistic or desirable scenario. The pink line includes conservation, but it exceeds PSE's level of concern every year for the past 7 years. Do you remember all the rolling blackouts we had during those years? We don't either. The graph PSE showed yesterday contradicts this graph because it showed we were significantly under that level of concern line for many of the preceding years. I believe it was 7 out of the 10 points were below that line. Obviously, this forecast needs to be updated. And one more weird thing. This is a graph for PSE's entire service area. It tells us little about what is needed on the east side. If the east side has a need, then PSE should show us a graph that demonstrates the need. In fact, we would like to see updated graphs for both winter and summer with at least 10 years of actual historical data to give us context on how loads are growing. This is what normal utilities do. CENSE is skeptical that a winter peaking utility like PSE has a summer reliability issue, and Bellevue's independent analyst, Utility System Efficiencies, provides a very important clue. When the analysts studied PSE's summer scenario without enormous amounts of electricity being transmitted to California, and that's almost 5 times more electricity than the East Side uses during its summer peak, there were 0 overloads in the summer of 2020 during an N-1-1 contingency. Here's a quote from page 66 of that report. Reducing the northern intertie flow to 0, no transfers to Canada or California, eliminated all of the summer overloads. However, there is still a winter overload, which means there is still local project need. It's clear from the findings of utility system efficiencies that big transfers to California are causing stress to the Eastside grid. The question is whether PSE is obligated to maintain those transfers if doing so requires turning off power to its own customers. We believe these deliveries are not firm contracts, meaning they are interruptible by local utilities if their equipment is in danger of overloading. If PSE disputes this, it would be convincing to show us copies of the firm commitments. To summarize our questions, we wonder what happened to PSE's winter peak scenario, why the company isn't showing us an Eastside graph to justify an Eastside project, and why PSE hasn't updated its summer forecast for more than 5 years. We also wonder if PSE is solving an Eastside problem or a California problem. Is Energize Eastside the best way to alleviate future power outages on the East Side? I asked this question at the 2016 Electrical Reliability Workshop that PSE held for the city of Bellevue. We had been discussing reliability metrics known as SAIDI and SAIFI, which measure how long and how often power outages occur. I asked how much Energize Eastside would improve SAIDI and SAIFI performance in Bellevue. This is how PSE's representative answered, quote, Energize Eastside is really not about the SAIDI and SAIFI that we're talking about in this report. It's not designed to affect SAIDI and SAIFI for any of the circuits in particular or the system as a whole. So, to put it differently, if we still have problems in our distribution system, if trees fall through lines, if a piece of equipment in a distribution circuit decides not to operate correctly, whether Energize Eastside has happened or not isn't going to affect that kind of performance, end quote. In other words, Energize Eastside will not cure 99% of the power outages we experience today. It's a very expensive way to protect against a theoretical power outage that has never occurred on the East Side and will likely never occur in the future. Before we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a feel-good solution, let's be sure it will actually make a difference. Better, let's spend those dollars on the reliability issues that remain all too common in Bellevue, not the phantoms PSE has conjured using old forecasts. PSE has a strong incentive to build expensive projects that increase revenues for its foreign owners. In Bellevue, we have to stand up for our community values. As a highly educated community, we expect to have transparent data and studies so we can understand the need for a project. We want to understand costs and benefits. How much will reliability improve? For what level of investment? We want to have a fair and thorough analysis of cost-effective modern alternatives that can save us money and benefit the environment. And we really do want to preserve trees and wildlife as much as practical while modernizing our electric grid. There are plenty of opportunities for the community to work together with PSE on solutions that benefit our city and future generations. I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. And you've already provided your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.